Question, Guruji. How can a seeker understand the flow of energy within consciousness or the flow of consciousness itself?
Answer. First of all, allow the mind to become quiet. As far as possible, let it be free from the constant movement of thought. When the mind becomes still, you begin to recognize something that has always been present, the witness, the Sakshi. You may then discover that the same consciousness which was present in you 40 years ago, even when you were a child, is present within you today. The body has changed, thoughts have changed, circumstances have changed, but that which knows all these changes has remained unchanged. That recognition itself is an intimation of the witness. Then, whatever you see, let there be a gentle awareness that behind all seeing is the Sakshi, the one who truly sees. The eyes perform the act of seeing, but the witness remains untouched and still. The eyes see, but the seer is beyond the eyes. That which is the true seer is Shiva. Shiva is the great stillness, the silent void, beyond movement and change. When Parvati, the Kundalini Shakti, arises within that stillness, there is a manifestation of knowledge. Consciousness itself is knowledge, the knowledge of the Supreme Being. When Shakti moves within Shiva, the flow of knowledge begins to reveal itself. But this is a very subtle path. The first step is not to force anything. The first step is to quieten the mind, to become inwardly empty, and to establish oneself in stillness and wisdom. Only then should one allow the movement of consciousness through the chakras and its eventual union with Shiva. From that union arises the deeper manifestation of knowledge. If the mind has not been made quiet and one attempts to awaken or force the movement of Shakti, it may disturb the mental field rather than bring clarity. Therefore, this path calls for patience, purity, steadiness, and understanding.
Question, Guruji, you said that the development of Kundalini Shakti within us also takes place in the form of a pyramid. Could you explain this a little further?
Answer. The inner power, whether we speak of the power that enters us from the cosmos, or of the Kundalini Shakti within us, symbolically represented as a serpent and awakened through spiritual practice, ultimately leads toward Samadhi, toward that profound state in which the individual power is united with the cosmic power. In essence, the power is one. What is required is to become receptive to it. This is why spiritual practice is important. Such an awakening does not ordinarily happen merely through intellectual understanding. Through faith, love, devotion, and the practice of sitting quietly and remaining still, one gradually becomes inwardly receptive. Then the power naturally begins to reveal itself through the Sahasrara. Whether you understand the process as the Kundalini rising from the Muladhara or as the cosmic power descending through the Sahasrara, the essential truth remains the same: the power is one. The important thing is to prepare oneself, to cultivate the inner vibrations, purity, stillness, and receptivity through which that power may reveal itself. When this power becomes active within, it is said to permeate the very cells of the body and support vitality, health, and longevity. The pyramid is simply one symbolic way of understanding this energy. The form may differ, but the underlying principle remains one.
Question: why do I sometimes feel completely devoid of energy?
Answer: when you feel that your energy is very low, there may be several simple reasons. Perhaps the body is not well. Perhaps the digestive system is not functioning properly. Perhaps the mind has become absorbed in one thought after another throughout the day. Remember that thought also consumes energy. Sometimes we do not realize how much of our vitality is spent in worry, anxiety, conflict, fear, or unnecessary mental activity. If the mind remains occupied throughout the day, there may be very little energy left for silence, meditation, or prayer. Food also provides energy. When the body is healthy and digestion is functioning well, vitality naturally follows. Therefore, it is important to look after the body with care and moderation. If you are wasting your energy in some unhealthy way, only you can honestly look within and understand that. Perhaps you are troubled by worries. Perhaps you are not sleeping properly. Perhaps your lifestyle has become irregular. All these things are interconnected. Therefore, bring some discipline and simplicity into your life. Eat properly. Sleep well. Keep the body reasonably healthy. Give the mind periods of quietness. Avoid unnecessary disturbances and unhealthy company. Then energy begins to return naturally. And if, toward the end of life, the body itself has exhausted its vital force, then naturally the energy begins to withdraw. That is part of the natural movement of life. But during the active years of life, if there is a persistent lack of energy, it is worth looking gently at both the body and the mind. Often, we are either physically unwell or inwardly entangled in our worries. When the mind is disturbed, sleep suffers. When sleep suffers, the body suffers. And when the body and mind are disturbed, even remembering the Lord can become difficult. Everything is connected. The spiritual path is sometimes compared to walking on the edge of a sword. It does not mean that the path should be approached with fear. Rather, it reminds us to walk with awareness, sincerity, and balance. Even something as simple as digestion can influence our spiritual practice. If the stomach is disturbed, there may be days when meditation itself becomes difficult. Therefore, do not separate spiritual life from ordinary life. Bring the whole of life into harmony. The Lord is perfection. To move toward that perfection, We must gradually bring our body, mind, habits, relationships, food, sleep, and thoughts into greater balance. Take care of the body without becoming obsessed with it. Keep the mind quiet without forcing it. Eat wholesome food. Avoid unnecessary negativity. Choose good company. Spend some time in silence. And above all, keep turning gently toward the Lord. When life becomes simple, balanced, and inwardly quiet, energy is no longer merely something we try to possess. We begin to discover the deeper source from which it arises. Be still. Be sincere. Remain receptive. The more quietly you turn within, the more clearly you begin to recognize that the deepest source of your strength was never outside you. It was always present as the silent witness, the Sakshi, the Self.